So like when people in my world will come up to me and they'll go, like, oh, I'm doing it. Huh, thank you. I didn't know. Thank you. Right? So
Tuck the wire around.
tuck my wire around, sure.
So it's not a big.
Does my wire
It
bother you?
Well, it looks like you're an alien. There.
Better? Right. Be aware of your wire. First they put me in a cage, then they wire me up. Wow. Okay. That's right. All right. So let's get into it, shall we?
Yeah.
Want to get into it?
Yeah.
Was that good information this morning?
Yeah.
Do you want more?
Yeah.
Good. So again, I am here right now. We're going to talk a little bit about NLP. This is not an NLP training per se. I'm just going to show you how some of that is used as a tool to maximize your communication, which allows you to help influence others, which influences their behavior. All right? Okay. So, what's important about that? Why should you want to invest the next 90 minutes of your life learning this? Why is this important? Well, first and foremost, again, how many of you are here for a result? Yes, you all are here for a result. Guess what I'm here to do? Help you get it. I'm here to help you get the result that you came for. What does that lead to?
Happiness.
All right, see, right away, you knew it. Let's just look at it real quick again. I always start by looking at the result that you present with. All right? And what is the result that most people show up in your life with? They show up with a problem, right? And in the profession, we say that they show up with their presenting problem. All right? They're standing here in their PP. Okay. Just let that one go. All right? So they stand here with their result. They're either getting it or they're not. Again, so let's just go through this. What causes them to get a result or not? Eventually. So what do they have to do to get an action? What do they have to do to get a result? Take it. And then from there, how do you take an action? It's because you feel like it. You choose it, right? So beliefs drive emotions, which drive your actions, which get your results. And you're wanting to get a result so you can get a need or a desire fulfilled. Yes? Yes. And when you fulfill your desires, you're what? You're happy. And that's why beards lead to happiness. Dun-dun-dun. So again, that's a little memory technique. You just remember the B stands for belief, E, so forth and so on. All right, so why is this important? How many of you still run a Lisa Macintosh or a Windows 98 system? Not very many people. Why? Because they've got upgraded software, right? It's like some of our software hasn't been upgraded for a long time since it came out back in the day. All right? So guess what? It's available to you. We can upgrade our operating system so that it runs faster and more effectively. How many of you would like to have an operating system that's more effective? Yeah? Absolutely. And to be able to create change and manage your thoughts. Would that be valuable? Yeah, absolutely. And would it be valuable to know how to manage your emotions? Yeah? Sometimes stuff happens and what takes over? Them emotions. Ooh, those darn emotions. All right, well, let's see how we can use that. Because those show up in our lives like habits. Does anybody have a habit that you'd like to change? Yeah, does that happen? Are there habits you'd like to create? Yeah. Right? Having the habit of confidence. Right? So it's been said that people have a habit of being confident, or they're confident in the fact that they're not confident. They're confident about something, just about the opposite of what they really want. Or they're confident that they're not worthy. They're confident that they're fearful of whatever it is. So we can help change that. And one of the things that I found cool about NLP is it uses psychology based upon what works. Now, if you're looking to get a result, how many of you would like to find somebody that's already doing what you want to do? They're successful at it. They're getting the result that you want. And you can get them to show you, do A, B, C, D, and you'll get the same result. How many of you are looking for that? Yes? Every hand should be up, right? Because that's how you save time and money. Money by speed. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. It does. And let's just stop messing around and let's get to where we want to go, right? So, if you want to create excellence and happiness in your life, we're going to use these advanced tool sets that I'm about to share with you in two types of communication. There's verbal and nonverbal. So we'll talk about those in just a moment. And again, as a communicator, remember I told you there's two levels of communication going on. There's a level of conscious communication, and what's the bigger part? The subconscious communication that's going on. All right? So, again, my outcome is to assist you to maximize the results you want. Right? So, what are we talking about here? So, neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro. It's about getting information about our outside world into our nervous system. And we do that through our five senses. Seeing, hearing, feeling, and to a lesser degree, and still very important, through our taste and our sense of smell. So, is there some communication going on there? Yeah? And if you were to, if there were like one of those cartoon balloon thought bubbles above the person on the left's head, what would it be saying? Possibly. Yeah. What are you doing? No. What?
Get your hand off.
Hand off me, absolutely. How about not even? You know, are you kidding me? Really? Right? All of those words, we all make up different perceptions based upon what's going through our head, yes? There is communication going on there. Now, some of it's linguistic, using verbal and nonverbal language that gives a meaning to that experience. Yes? We each create a meaning to that experience. Here is your brain when it's happy, or that person's brain when it's happy. So actually feeling and emotion lights up different areas of the brain. So in this case, one shows happy, one shows sad. So there's actually a physical reaction taking place in the body, feeling and emotion. You've all had that experience? That's why you say you feel different. It's a different level and intensity of that energy. And we give different names to them. Right? So these are programming. Programming are the patterns and the behavior that results from the other processes of information coming in and the language that's coming in and the meaning that we assign to them. That you could think of as your operating system, your programming. So just a little while ago, I'm going to refer to Stacy here. She started running a program. Did you all saw it, yes? Mm-hmm. This happens, I think about this, my body feels a certain way, and I behave a certain way, and I get in that pattern. Until I choose not to, and then I can choose a different future, which you saw her do. And how did we do that? By changing the way we feel, consciously, right? And just so that you know, all of your programming is stored away in your subconscious mind. and it's coded and it's organized. So it's like, okay, the time, where you were in space, it's like this, it's not like that. So it gets stored away and coded. So one of the reasons that we even have the ability to be talking about this right now is a couple of folks decided that they were going to study people that were getting really good results. They were excellent at what they do. With the thought being, it's like, you know what? If we just look at how she goes about doing what she does, how she thinks, what she thinks to herself, the behaviors that they take on, the beliefs that they have, the whole Beard model, if we can find out what that is, and then if we can do the same thing, we should probably get the same or a similar result. Would you agree? That's the idea. So they started studying people that were really, really good at what they do. They call that modeling. Let's model what other people do. What do they do with their physiology? What do they do with their body? What language do they use? How do they use it? How do they structure their language in order to get better results? How do they think? What is their model of the world? What is that like? All right? So success leaves clues. Have you heard that before? Let's look for what successful people do, and let's follow those clues. Let's do it ourselves. So how are we going to do that? All right, so neuro, they said it has to do with your brain and your nervous system. That's how you receive and process information. Y'all with me? It's that information coming in. Now, as a presenter, sight, hearing, and feeling, tasting, and smelling, which of those are we primarily utilizing? Eyes, so visual, and hearing, right? And feeling, right? And it's the feeling that most presenters, many presenters, don't understand and ignore. When it's probably the most important, because if somebody's going to buy, they're going to have to feel like it first. Yes? All right? So now you know that. That in turn creates our conscious and unconscious functions. And again, when I say unconscious, I'm also talking about those levels of awareness and things that are going on outside of your conscious awareness, right? Your heart beating, your lungs breathing, your stomach digesting, your spleen, right? Right? All right? And it's always on. Who remembers what the primary job of the subconscious mind is? Survival, thank you. It's always on. There's always a part of you. Remember what it does? It's always scanning. For example, we'll be out cold, sleeping. Anybody here have children or had young children, right? How is it possible that you're completely asleep, you're laying there, and all of a sudden you're like, and there's a little face going, I'm thirsty. How did you know to wake up? They didn't say anything. They were just standing there looking at you, right? Or how many of you ever been standing somewhere and all of a sudden you're like, and you look and there's someone staring at you. How did you know? Oh, that's a fun game. Just anybody, if you're hanging out and you don't have anything to do and you're in an airport, just start staring at the back of someone's neck, right? And then throw a love bomb at them. I love you. Pretty soon they're like, it's fun. Okay, yes, let's move right along. All right, so we saw this before. The conscious mind is just a small part of the equation. Again, the subconscious mind is where your emotions and imaginations are. It's where those feelings of loyalty and trust come from. I've showed you this before. Why am I showing you this again? It's everything and it's important. And so one of the ways the subconscious mind learns is through repetition, over and over, repetition. So if there are key points you want your audience to know, say it, bring it up. Say it in different ways. Repetition is your friend.
So just come back one step. When you mentioned that a lot of people, people are looking. What exactly?
How does that work? I believe it works because, like I said earlier, we are senders and transmitters and we're receivers. All right? And we all have this capability. Some of us have closed it down and not used it. And with practice, you can become more in tune, if you will. For example, when I was going through training to become a hypnotherapist, I actually asked, I said, hey, please allow me to become more open and more sensitive. And all I had to say is be careful for what you ask. Because pretty soon I'm like taking on, I'm like, ooh, where's that coming from? Start tuning in and doing session work with clients and then come home. I was in Toronto, Canada. I did a 2-day seminar. There was a gentleman sitting in the front and he asked, can this hypnosis stuff help with a bad back? I'm in pain. And I will admit I was showing off. And I was like, do you want it to? And he's like, yes, I do. And I did a session with him. But what ended up happening at that point, yes, he got relief, yes, he got help, but there was a lot of other people in the room. This might sound woo-woo to y'all, but they had issues as well, and I didn't know it. I got home and I was physically ill. I was sick. And I went to a woman that I go see when I need help, and I walked into her office and she's like, you know you got about 15 people hanging off you, don't you? I'm like, what? Get them off. So that was my introduction to, it's like, okay, I don't need to do that anymore. So why am I telling you that? Let me give you another example. I had a client, female, insecure, and she didn't have the confidence that she wanted. So one of the things that I did with Stacy was when she started to go into her pattern, what did I do? I stopped it. There are different ways of doing that. It's called interrupting that pattern, right? So I interrupted it, said, no, you're not going there, stop. There are different ways of doing that, and I just trust that whatever way that is will happen when it needs to. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So with this particular client, when I asked her about being confident, she was standing like this. Now, what does this tell you?
What?
Yeah? Does that look like a confident woman? No. So I needed to break that pattern. And I'm telling you this because, ladies, I want you to understand, I had enough rapport with her to do this, all right? So here's what I did. I'm like, how does a confident woman stand? So I put one hand on her shoulder, one behind her back, and as I was going like this to what? Straighten her up, I just whispered in her ear, girls first. Now, I wouldn't do that with everybody, but I had rapport with her, and that was like the, what did he just say? But then she laughed, and she's like, oh yeah, I get it, okay. So that worked. I don't know, I mean, different situations, I would say something different, but that came out at that time. I'm like, okay, that's what you needed. Now, here's how you're gonna use that. When you're walking through the mall, confidence is you're standing up, you're walking, you know what you're about. Now, with this particular person, I told her, as you're walking through the mall, when you meet somebody, if you think to yourself, wow, he's kind of cute, I'd like to get to know him, right? Like, pretend you're a baseball player and fill up this ball with love and energy and like let go and let him have it. And when it hits him, say, you'd be lucky to spend a moment in my presence. Now that sounds cocky, yes? Yet at the same time, for her, does that help her get to a point where it's like, yeah, he would be lucky to spend a moment in my presence. I'm a catch. Yeah? Do you see how that works? Mm-hmm. So with you, you might not be in that market, okay? But yet, just for fun, what if you were to see somebody that's sitting over there and obviously that person looks like they're down or they're sad? Have you ever noticed somebody like that? Can you tell? So just have some fun, man. Send them a little thought. And if you don't like the word bomb, send something else. Send them what else could you send them? a snowball or an airplane or something like that, you know? Fill it full of, if someone's down, what could they use? Yeah? Happiness or, you know, joy or whatever. And just load up the airplane and zing. It might not work the first time, but I guarantee you the more you do it, eventually they're going to go, laugh now, try it later. Okay? All right. So we got a little bit off topic, and yet it works. It works. Right? And as I like to say, you can either infect people or you can affect people, and it's up to you. All right? So here we are, a typical human being. We have something happening outside of us, right? All the time. Would you agree?
Yes.
All right? That information is coming into your nervous system at a high rate of speed. There's a lot of data coming in. I mean, this is like mega cable, like 2 to 4 million bits of information per second. There's a lot of it. In fact, there is so much that if you were aware of all the information coming in, you would be autistic or have Asperger's or something like that, where they have too much information coming in, it's overwhelming. All right? So we've developed over the years that gatekeeper, those filters. Some of that information gets deleted out because you don't need to be aware of it. Like right now, you're probably not aware of the feeling in your left big toe until I brought it out. Now you can, oh yeah, I do have one of those, if you do, right? Right? Some information gets distorted. Some information gets generalized, right? So like, oh, that's a chair. Well, is it, or is it a bar stool? Or is it a sofa? Or is it a folding chair? I don't need to know. It's in that category of things I sit down on. Would you agree? It gets lumped in together. All men, all women, all cars, all whatever. It makes our life and our job easier, right? Then it also gets filtered. Remember I said by the time we get older, now we've learned a language. Now we have memories. Now we've made decisions. We have made meta programs. We have values. We have beliefs. Everything coming in now has to make it through all of that stuff. And when it finally gets through all of our filters, it ends up being like 5 to 9 chunks of information that we have in mind at any one time. That's why phone numbers are the length they are, right? We can only handle 5 to 9 pieces of information at any one time. At that point, it creates our internal representation of what's on the outside. That's the story you make up about what you're seeing out there. It's also known as the perception. Is this helpful to understand? Yeah, because as I'm talking, each of you has your own perception of what it is I'm saying to it. You're creating your own meaning. And in order for your customer to buy, we have to help, especially in a group, everybody get on the same page and have the same meaning. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So that perception then causes you to feel a certain way. It's also called your state, your emotional state, which then causes your body to change. How many of you have ever had a thought and then you felt a change in your body? Yes, all the time. This is kind of similar to the beard model. But here's the point, here's the reason I'm bringing this up, because you're going to experience this firsthand in just a few moments. Your thoughts create how you feel, which changes your body. So have you ever been driving down the road and all of a sudden you hear this woo, 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 and you look in the rearview mirror and you see these lights flashing? What happens to your heartbeat? What happens to your breathing? Right? And then they pass by and they pull over the person in front of you. Then what happens? And for the next hour, you drive like a saint. Right? Right? Well, it was just a thought that created a physical change in your body, right? Oh, so it goes the other way as well. I want you to understand that your physiology, your body, what you do with that body can also change how you think. So I don't know if you noticed, when Stacy started to go into her old pattern, her body started to do certain things, right? When my client got into this pattern of how she was around a guy she might like, she went into a certain physiological state. I'm not worthy, I'm uninteresting, and what does her body do? It shrinks down, right? I'm like, no, you're a woman. Let me hear you roar. Let me see someone that is, wow, I want to spend more time with her. Where's she at? Bring her out. Right? Can she come out to play? Okay, let's do it. So how do we do that? Well, we can change it either by what we think, or do you think it might be even easier just to change what we're doing with our body? Because those are codes, and those patterns are coded in what we think, how we feel, and what we do with our body. So knowing that, we can change our behavior simply by changing our body, which will change how we feel. Have you ever heard, if you're feeling in a funk, if you're feeling down, go for a walk. Change what you're doing. Go for a walk. That's one reason. It'll change what you're thinking and how you're feeling. All right? Is this helpful? Can you see how this applies now to presentations? Right? So, everybody go ahead and stand up. Put your pens and pencils down. Papers, shake it out. Right? So this is really good to have this part right after lunch. Because again, I want you to realize if you're speaking after lunch, what did most of you just do? You ate. And what's happening to your physiology? Your energy's slowing down because it's going to digest food. So right now, instead of getting into a coma, we're going to start moving around, right? Now, I'm going to say a word, and I want you to respond. Do depression. Yeah, act depressed. Show me depressed. Okay. And now you're depressed. And what kind of thoughts are you thinking? And what are you saying to yourself? This will never work. I don't feel like doing it. I'm not worthy. All right? So just kind of look around, leave your body weighted, just kind of look around and see how everybody's got their body. I didn't tell you how to do that. I just said a word. Now I'm going to say another word, and I'm going to see how that goes. So I'm going to count from 1 to 3. On the 3, I'll say a word, and you'll all respond. 1, 2, 3, victory! Now look around. Look around, okay? All I did was say a word, and you all did the same thing. How did you know how to do that? Turn to your neighbor, give him a high five, and say, you're pretty smart. You're pretty smart. Yeah. All right, have a seat. And you at home, too, you can play along.
If we could see you.
Okay, so 2 words,
We'll only see
complete difference. Did I influence you to move your bodies? Absolutely. I said 1 word, depression. Which way did your bodies go?
Wow.
How do we describe somebody that's feeling that way? Down, right? And your body has that coded into it. I didn't even need to tell you that. You just did it. All right? What's that?
Smart.
You are smart. You are human, yes. All right? And so I then said another word. What was it?
Victory.
And how did you know to do that? Right? When you win. When you're feeling how? Right? Sugar Frosted Flakes. There. Right? Again, we know these things. They're patterns that they're in us. Right? And so most of the time, have you heard the thing where you get, like you were saying today, we get the choice. We can choose. We can react or we can respond. And there's a difference there, yes?
Mhm.
All right? So knowing this, just remember, emotions, you can control them by controlling your body. You can control your emotions when you control your body.
Could you also say the opposite?
Yes, absolutely. Because when you start thinking, now we're going to go into something here in a moment that I learned from one of my mentors, Steve Linder, who also works with, how did she say it yesterday? That tall guy that does seminars and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We'll talk about that in just a moment. From our perspective here, we talked about if your buyer is going to buy, they're going to have to feel like it. Yeah? And so Sales 101, since our state equals our feeling, Sales 101 says, elicit a good feeling in your customer. How do I define elicit? What does that mean?
Bring out.
Bring out, thank you. As opposed to, that's E-L-I-C, as opposed to I-L-L-I-C. All right, that's a different thing. All right, we're not here for that. Bring out a good feeling in your client, in your customer, and then attach or anchor that good feeling to your product. Right? So how do I do that, Doug? So in one way, did you notice how good you felt when I said, victory, and you're all standing up, and then I walk over here and I go like this, and now you're victory, and you're happy, and your body's up, and I'm like, yeah, that's how it feels to work with me, right? So that's how my clients feel when they work with me. Or, for example, if I had my book here, or I had my product here, or like if I was Forbes and if I had this, that's how you're going to feel after a 5-minute workout with the Spin Gym, right? See how that works? So that's in your future. This feeling you're feeling now, when you become my client, when you get started with my program, that's how you're going to feel. Is this starting to kind of come together? All right. So you'll also notice, and I noticed this as well, we were in Cancun this summer, took a family vacation, and while we were renting the car, the lady at the car rental place gave us this amazing opportunity to go check out this property, and we could get a free brunch. It was awesome. We know what that's called, right?
Yeah.
So we went and we enjoyed it. Here's what they didn't know. They had a whole group of sales professionals, no intention on buying. We went, we got the tour, we got the brunch, we sat there and we critiqued their whole presentation. And then the salesperson got up and their boss came back and they tried and he gave up, and then the main boss came and they were getting angry, right? And we were just watching the techniques, and while we were having brunch, the preview person started asking, it's like, so how many vacations do you take a year? And we want to feel great when your family, so they're asking questions to get us to feel good about what life is going to be like when we have the opportunity to go wherever we want and spend all this time and everything's all included. So again, as you start watching presentations from now on, you'll never watch one the same way again. And yet, we thank them for their time. We had an awesome day. You guys are doing a good job. We're just not we're not a match. Thank you very much. And we left. Yeah, thanks for brunch. And thank you for, what was it, like $300-400 off of tickets that, oh, that was the other thing. There was an area place that we could go and we would get discount tickets if we went through the whole thing. So we went to get the discount tickets. Yeah, we're those people. All right. So, yes, that's like my wife says. She feels she's from Mexico, so she feels cheated if she doesn't get an opportunity to negotiate, right? So, we had a good time. All right. But I got to tell you, again, as a parent, as a father, it's really cool because while we were sitting there, I looked at my kids and I like when they would do something, I'd like, and we were like cluing them in, kind of like Justin, like you're sitting there, it's like, oh my gosh, that's what they were doing at the presentation. I'm like, did you notice it? Check it out. Okay, here it comes. Watch. Okay, yeah, there it is. Yeah. So my kids and I were kind of like watching a tennis match, right? Here it is. So you're going to be doing the same thing. All right. All right. So as a presenter, when you are in front of a room of people and when you're alone by yourself, you are a state manager. And you get to choose how you feel at any moment. Nobody can make you feel anything without your permission. It's not my line. I don't remember where I heard it, and yet it's true, isn't it? All right? These are the 6 primary emotions, and there are subsets of that. Happy, excited, tender, scared, angry, or sad. Now, what makes those different? I guess you could say the tone, the frequency at which they resonate. We put different words on excited. So like on one level of excitement, you can be ecstatic,
Can you see the screen?
then you could be antsy. Is there a difference? Yeah, there is. On the opposite side of that is angry. So do excited and angry both, are those like high energy?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are high energy, yes. But then what about the frequency? So again, I went to electronic school. So we have amplitude, which is how strong is that signal. But then we also have modulation. What is the frequency of it? So like low level is like real low level frequency. High level is like this, right? So once again, you can have a lot of energy, but it could be low level, lot of energy. Make sense? Right? So why is this important? Well, here's why this is important. Write this down. This is something I learned from my mentor, Steve, who also works with the tall guy, training a lot of his presenters and coaches as well. So this is something they call the triad. And it says that success is feeling our preferred emotion most of the time. Would you agree? And what did we talk about earlier? How do most people want to feel? They want to feel happy, right? Now, do we know some people, though, that they're most at home when they're feeling doubtful or worried? Yeah. There are people who live there, and they will fight you if you try to get them out of that. They'll fight you. Hey, it's my right to be living here in jealousy because you don't know what those people did to me. I've worked hard, and I don't have all the breaks, and that's not fair. And how dare you tell me that I can, what? I can choose to be different? What? Nah, you've been smoking something, right? Okay, fine. You stay there. I'm just gonna go do my thing, right? Right? You can stay there. All right. So why is this important? Here's why this is important, and this is something that when I learned this, it's like, wow, I can really choose how I feel at any moment in time because we already know how to do this, right? She showed us that she has a formula. She has a recipe, and it starts with, oh, I'm going to focus on something. So you started to talk about your sight, your eyes, focusing or whatever. Start focusing on that. So all of your attention, let's just say that this clicker is that thing. So all of her attention is over here, right? And then you started to think and talk to yourself and say words, and you repeated those same words over and over and over, and they go with you focusing on that old thing. Yeah? Do we all do this? We do. So we're focused on this thing we don't want, or let me rephrase that. We're focused on this thing we say we don't want, but for some reason, we still got it, and we're talking about it. So now we've got our focus, we've got our language, and then what happens to our body? We already showed it, one word causes your body to, oh, now I do this, right? So you add all three of those things, focus, language, the words we say to ourselves and out loud, our body, that's what creates the emotion. That is the formula to create that emotion, that feeling. So once again, we said when somebody is feeling down, that's represented by this red arrow over here. So boredom, pessimism, frustration, overwhelm, disappointment, doubt, worry, blame, discouragement, anger, revenge, hatred, rage, jealousy, insecurity, guilt, unworthiness, fear, grief, depression, despair. Oh boy, Doug, give me some of that. Right? Woo! Right? And you know what? There are actually groups of people to get together and bitch about all that stuff. Talk about how bad their life sucks and how unfair it is. Isn't it? Birds of a feather. There you go. All right? And so, it's like, what was it? I saw a video one time of, it's like a crab trying to get out of the tank, and they almost make it, but the other crabs reach up and pull it down and bring it back in. Doesn't that happen with people too? Crab mentality? Yeah, that's what ends up happening. And doesn't that down arrow describe all those words we just said? Right? So if you're focused on, something that might happen but probably isn't gonna, you don't know, and you start talking to yourself about all that stuff and your body goes into that pattern, we call that worry. Or we call that doubt. All right? On the other hand, though, contentment, hopefulness, optimism, positive expectancy, enthusiasm, eagerness, happiness, passion, joy, freedom, love, appreciation. Completely different, yeah? And you probably feel different just hearing those words. I know I do. All right? And so, why is this important? How does this work? What are we going to use this for? Anybody want to know? Anybody want to know?
Yes.
All right, so that's important too. If you ask a question and the audience doesn't answer, make them answer in a nice and a fun way. Are y'all having fun?
Yes.
Is it okay to be goofy a little bit and have fun? All right, and simple. Yes. All right, why complicated? All right, so here's how we are going to use this. What is a quality that you admire in somebody that you want to do business with?
Honesty.
Honesty.
Transparency.
Okay. So let me. Yeah. Let's do some brainstorming.
Justin, move to the other side, man. Screen back.
Okay, so somebody that we want to do business with, and when you're presenting in front of a room, you're selling something, yes?
Yeah.
All right, so you're there to do business in one level or another. All right, so we want that person to be, I don't know if you can see this, but we'll work over here. So I'm writing down on the board, and I'll remind them again. We want that person to be honest, transparent, knowledgeable. What else?
Organized.
What is that?
Organized.
Organized.
I want them to be fun, passionate.
Cheerful and kind-hearted.
Relatable.
Cheerful, passionate, relatable. Okay, anything else? Professional. Excellent. Okay, now, in general, let's look at this list and let's just pick 3 that you think would be important or appropriate for any audience that we get in front of, all right? So let's do it this way. Honest and transparent. Is that kind of the same thing as transparent? A subset of that? All right, so let's just go ahead and knock that one out. Honesty and knowledgeable, which would be more important? Honesty and organized. Honest or fun? Honest or passionate? Honest or cheerful? Honest or relatable? Honest or professional? Honest, okay, so number 1, honest. All right? Knowledgeable or organized? Knowledge or fun? Knowledge or passionate? Knowledge or cheerful? Cheerful, whatever. Knowledgeable or relatable? Knowledgeable, professional? Knowledgeable or creative? All right. Coming down to the home stretch, we'll pick 3. Organized or fun?
Fun.
Fun or passionate?
Fun and passionate could be the same thing.
Okay. Hands for fun? Hands for passionate. Woo! Passionate or cheerful? Okay. Passionate or relatable? Personal, professional? It's passionate. All right. And is fun maybe a subset of passionate? Yeah, kind of, maybe. All right. So, here we go. We're going to use these 3, all right? For those of you at home playing along, we are going to, or working along right beside us, we are going to look at how do we walk into a room and let everybody know that because we feel a certain way, they can feel a certain way. We're going to help ourselves get into an energetic state of honesty, knowledgeable, and passionate, right? Now, let's just talk about that for a minute. Now, do you often stop and think about all the times you were knowledgeable about something?
No.
No. Is that really an emotion or a value or, all right? So what about honest? Is that a value or something that you find valuable in somebody? All right? So I want you to understand this can also be done. It's like, well, what do I value? Like, what beliefs do I subscribe to? So you could do the same thing. You can also say, what emotions would it be helpful for this audience to have? So I have to have that before they can have it. Does that make sense? All right. So for example, when I was working with Stacy, what was she lacking? She told me, I asked her, what would that woman need to have? And she said it, confidence. All right. She would have to be confident. All right. So I normally have a handout that I give at this. We're going to wing this because you are all so smart. And you just told each other that already. We're going to be able to do this and it will be easy for you. Okay. All right. So, knowing what we know and what we've already learned, our subconscious mind has memories and recipes. What we focus on, the words we say to ourselves, and what we do with our body creates an emotion. So if we want to create the emotion of honesty, here's how we're going to do this. Write this down. So get a clean piece of paper so you can start from the top. Remember a time you were X'd, where X stands for the emotion or the value, not that pill you took at the rave. Okay. All right, yes, I'm showing my age. I know they're probably not called raves anymore. And back when I DJ'd, they were called undergrounds. So. Fests. And I showed up one day, we were loading all the gear, we were heading out. We showed up at this warehouse downtown, went up on the top floor, and we got it all ready for this party. And I'm like, man, who'd you rent this from? He's like, shut rent? What you talking about? It's called slip $100 to the security guard. I'm like, I don't want to know anything about this. Anyway, this is going to be edited out, right? Yes? Okay. All right. So, where was I? Oh, yes. Remember a time you were X'd, right? Now, the next line is, remember a specific time you were X'd. So your subconscious mind is pretty smart. It's just like Google, if you will. You type in the search bar what you want Google to find you, right? And it'll bring you back a bunch of that. But then if you type in, find that, and then a specific kind of thing, like Best Buy, it'll bring back a bunch of Best Buys, yes? Mm-hmm. If you type in Best Buy Clearwater, it'll bring back that one. So like in this time, we're saying, hey, subconscious mind, remember a time you felt honest. Remember a time you were honest, right? And now you say, hey, by the way, while you're in there looking for that, remember a very specific time you were honest. And then guess what? A memory is going to pop up in your mind, right? Kind of like when you go to sleep at night, it's like, oh, hey, it's your subconscious. I know you're trying to sleep, but here's like 4,927 things you wanted to remember, right? It's like, right? This is your guiding it, telling it, find me a specific memory. So let's read it back to me. Remember a time you were X. Read it back.
Remember a time you were X.
Remember a specific time you were X.
Remember a specific time you were X.
All right? Go back to that time now. Float down into your body. Now, as I do this, watch me first and then write. So let's go back to the beginning. And just for a moment, write down at the very beginning of that, close your eyes. Right? All right. So you're standing here in a moment, you're going to pair off and you're going to work with, and have a chance to work with each other. And you're going to tell that person, okay, great, now close your eyes. Remember a time you felt you were, in this case, honest, X. Okay, got it? Great. Remember a specific time you felt honest, you were honest. Float down into your body and see what you saw. What am I doing? Everybody follow along. See what you saw, hear what you heard, and really feel that feeling of being totally honest. Okay? Now that is a learning device. See what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel that feeling.
Would they see that if their eyes are closed?
Yeah, you're doing that for, I'm doing that as a training mechanism right now. It's for your benefit, so help you remember. And thank you for asking. That's a great question.
See what you saw.
See what you saw. So now all I have to do is go. Everybody repeat after me.
Hear what you heard. Feel what you were feeling.
And feel what you were feeling when you were being honest. Now you can riff on that. You can, it's like when you were totally honest, when you were really feeling it, right? And get the basic words down now, and then you can improvise. With more colors. Okay. So now we've instructed the subconscious mind to go back into the archives and pull out a specific memory of a time you were being honest. You're seeing what you saw, you're hearing what you heard, you're feeling what you felt, right? The next line is, on a scale of 0 to 10, how are you feeling? Or how honest are you feeling? Wow. On a scale of 0 to 10, how honest are you feeling? Where are you at? How are you feeling? You want to know, how intense is this memory? How intense is this feeling? Now, as a coach, do you want them to have a weak memory, a weak feeling, or do you want to have a really good one? You really want to have a good one. So if they come back and they say, oh, I'm about a 3, then you say, great, thank you, subconscious mind, because everything it does is good. Say, go get another one. Go find another time you were feeling really honest. Bring me back a juicy one, right? Help them out, right? Oh, okay. And there's that 8-year-old kid running, I'll be right back. And it runs over and comes back. Here you go. Okay. See how that works? You're like my little, yeah. All right. So let's start at the beginning. Close your, okay. Again, why are we having them close the eyes? To focus on inside and not on the outside. So close your eyes. Remember a time you were X. Everybody say it out loud with me. Close your eyes. Remember a time you were X. Remember a specific time you were X. Got it? Great. Float, go back to that time right now. Float down into your body. See what you saw. Hear what you heard. And really feel that feeling of being totally X. Got it? Great. On a scale of 0 to 10, how X are you? How X are you feeling? Where are you at? Oh, I'm about an 8. As long as they're about like a 7 or an 8 or higher, that's pretty good. If they're less than that, tell them, great, go find another one. Go bring me back a juicy one. All right? Make it good. All right? Once they say they're at like a 7 or 8 or above, you can say, awesome. Now, the next line is, as you're feeling that feeling of X, as you're feeling that feeling of X, squeeze your right hand into a fist. And say X out loud. So in this case, as you're feeling that feeling of honest or honesty, squeeze your right hand into a fist and say honest. So I use X. So as you're feeling X, squeeze your right hand into a fist and say X. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to help them make it more intense, did anybody notice what I just did with my voice? I stressed it, yes. I put the emphasis on that, yes? I said, honesty, yeah, feel it. You know? Again, it's like, oh, I feel weird doing that. It's like, get over it.
No.
Be willing to do whatever you need to do to help somebody, yeah? And if you can help them out by saying, do it, yeah, I can't wait to hear this. This is going to be good. Yeah, all right. So let's go run through that much so far. So we're standing here. We have our partner here. It's like, okay, you go first. Close your eyes. Everybody say it out loud with me. Close your eyes. Remember a time you were X. Remember a specific time you were X. Got it? Go back to that time. Float down into your body. Did you all drop off?
Yep.
See, saw,
Hear what you heard.
and really
Feel what you felt.
that feeling of X. Got it?
Got it.
On a scale of 0 to 10,
How are you feeling?
how are you feeling? How X are you? Along those lines. 7 or above, great. If they're less than a 7,
Go back and find another.
go back and what kind of one?
Juicy
A
one.
juicy one, right? Now they're at that level of feeling. Great. Now squeeze your right hand into a fist and say X. Say X. Say it again. Yeah. Right? We want to amp it up. We want them to be intense. We want that feeling to be maximized. This making sense?
Yeah.
Is this good?
Yeah.
Should we continue?
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, now shake that out, right? Shake it out. Why are we having them shaking it out? We got them changing their body, which changes their state, which changes how they feel, right? So that's kind of like wiping the slate clean, if you will. Because now we're going to go, so then on your instructions on however you want to say that, repeat for the next X. Right? So we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to do it for knowledgeable. Right? Actually, let me back up. I think in this case, we have enough time, so let's do this. Repeat one time for the same X. So we go through, let's find one memory of honesty. And what this is called, anybody know what squeezing your fist and saying that word is? It's an anchor, thank you. So, and what do you call this? That's an anchor too. So I anchored this space with, right? And so by helping them do this, what that's doing is, when they squeeze their fist and they say the word, that's saying, oh, I'm linking those things together, so now I'm gonna feel that again, all right? So repeat with the same X one time. So basically, how do you do that? The only difference is, great, now find another, remember another time. Or remember a time, but remember another time you felt honest. Got it? So you can remember that. Go through it, do it one more time, find another time. Got it? Great, go back to that specific time. Go down in your body, see what you saw, hear what you heard, and really feel that feeling of being honest. Got it? 0 to 10, 7 or above, awesome. Squeeze your right hand into a fist and say it. All right, now shake it out. So do that 2 times, right? Now you go to the next X. All right, so now I want you to remember a time you were knowledgeable. Remember a time you were knowledgeable. Got it? Good. Go back to a specific time you were knowledgeable. Tell me when you're there. Got it? Excellent. Now float down into your body, see what you saw, hear what you heard, and really feel that feeling of knowledgeable. And then I would probably say something, man, you really know your stuff, you know, whatever. Like, get that feeling, right? And then they would like, got it. 0 to 10? Good. Squeeze your right hand into a fist. Say it. Knowledge. Say it. Knowledge. And they would do that 2 times. Then we go to the next one. Remember a time you were passionate. Got it? Remember that specific time? Got it? Go back to that memory now, and now say it again. Float down into your body. Come on, say it. see what you saw, hear what you heard, and really feel that feeling of being totally passionate. Right? 0 to 10. See where I'm going with this? All right. So you're going to do each of these 2 times.
The same anchor each time.
Yes. So that's called stacking an anchor. So we're stacking honesty, knowledgeable, and passionate all in one thing. So you're going to, and that whole process is eliciting that state. That's what when we say, remember a time, see what you saw here, we're bringing that feeling out in the body on purpose. Y'all with me?
Yes.
You're doing each one twice so that it can be strengthened. When you have done each one of these twice, then the next phase comes in. All right? So once you've done that twice, then the next phase is this. So write this down. After doing each of these twice, after you've done each one of these twice, you're going to ask a question. And here's the question. There's a color that goes along with what you're feeling now. What color is it? There's a color that goes with this feeling. What color is it? Right? Now, when you're the coach and you ask your partner, what color is it? They will tell you, whatever it is, it is. And then you are going to stand next to them and tell them, imagine on the floor in front of you, there's a circle of just that shade of whatever. Y'all with me? Imagine there's a circle on the floor in front of you of that color. Or however you want to shorthand it. There's a circle of that color on the floor in front of you. Allowing your eyes to remain closed, keeping your eyes closed, with your eyes closed, however you want to say that. Step into that color. Step into the circle. All right, so you got the big chunks. The big chunks are, there's a feeling, there's a color that goes with the feeling. What is it? Great. There's a circle on the floor in front of you of that color. Step into it. Here's the next part. Now they're standing in the circle. Open your mouth and breathe. Breathe in that color. Breathe in that red, yellow, blue, whatever it is. Open your mouth and breathe in that color. Squeeze your right hand and notice how those feelings come right back. Yeah, that's right. Right? So there's a color that goes with this feeling. What is it? Great. There's a circle on the floor in front of you of that color. Step into it. Open your mouth. Breathe in that color. Squeeze your right hand and notice how those feelings come right back. Yeah, that's right. And when I say that's right, who am I talking to? Subconscious mind. Yep, that's right. You got it. That's right. You go, girl. Yes, you got it. Yes. However you want to do that. Right? Remember, we're talking to a bright 8-year-old. Encourage them. All right, you did it. Yeah, you got it. That's right. Uh-huh. All right, so I'm going to go over that chunk again. There's a color that goes with this feeling. What color is it? Great. There's a circle on the floor in front of you of that color. Step into it. Open your mouth. Breathe in. Breathe in that color. Squeeze your right hand. And notice how that feeling comes right back. That's right. Right? Y'all got that? Okay. Now step back out of that circle and shake it out. Repeat 3 times. Repeat twice. We're going to do a total of 3 times. So repeat 2 more times.
So eyes are.
So repeat stepping in. Eyes are closed. Yeah. Allowing your eyes to remain closed. Step into the circle. Squeeze your right hand. Breathe it in. Open your mouth. Breathe it in. Squeeze your right hand into a fist. Notice how that feeling comes right back. Yeah, you got it. That's right. Now, one thing we're going to add to that is when they notice the feeling come back in, the first time we want to ask them, what word describes this feeling to you the most? Honest, knowledgeable, passionate. What word describes that to you the most? So the first time, I apologize, I left that part out. So the first time you say there's a feeling the color that goes with this feeling, what color is it? Great. Step into it. Open your mouth. Breathe it in. Squeeze your right hand to a fist and notice how that feeling comes back. Yeah, that's right. What word describes this feeling best for you at that point? What word describes that feeling best to you? Honest, knowledgeable, or passionate. Whatever they say, that's their word, all right? So in this case, we're using these 3 words here. I would use which of these words, because that's what we brought out, that's what we elicited. Yeah? And again, if your subconscious mind says, Indiana, I don't know, whatever, I mean, go for it. It's like, okay, whatever you want. Right? Once you ask them what word describes that feeling, at that point now, squeeze your hand into a fist and say it. So let's just say maybe they say, passionate. Great. Now step back out and shake it out. All right? So stepping out of that circle and shaking it out is like resetting. Make sense? All right? All right. Now we have them do that process again, but we don't have to ask them what word anymore. We'll do it 2 more times. All right. Now step into the circle. Open your mouth. Breathe in that beautiful whatever it is. Right? Squeeze your right hand to the fist and say it. Passionate. And notice how that feeling comes right back. That's right. Awesome. Now step back. Shake it out. Do it 1 more time. Whole process. Step out. And now here's how we're going to use that. All right. So how do we use this? Well, you're standing over here. Here's your audience. And you're about to go on. Could be a presentation here. Perhaps you're sitting waiting for a job interview. Perhaps you're waiting to go meet with a client. Here's how it works. We'll see you now, which is the same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, right? So you're standing over there. You see, whoops, I got to get back over here, sorry. See the floor, see the circle on the floor. You step into it. And let's say, for example, you're in a setting where you're about to meet a client to discuss a deal and you're going to get signed up or something. You don't want to go like this. Passionate! Hi, pleasure to meet you. Right? That's not how we do it. All right? So you realize you can do that silently to yourself, yes? But you can still do it with the same intensity, right? So you see your circle, you step into it, squeeze your hand into fist, say your word, and now you feel it, and your body's vibrating and ready to go. It's got that feeling coming out of it, then you step up. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's what we call getting into your presentation state. And in this case, as a group, we practice these 3 things in order to practice. All right? Would it make sense at some point that you could choose your own and run this process for yourself? Yeah? All right, so here's what we're gonna do. It's now 3:25. What I would recommend is this only takes about maybe 5 to 10 minutes per person. So let's go ahead, get into a group, and like 2 each. And if you need, we can work together and get that done. And then after that, we'll take a 10-minute break. Sound good?
Yeah, yep.
All right. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll be happy to help you. All right. So folks at home, if you can do this, if you've got someone you can work this with, that would be awesome. We're going to be doing a group exercise now. And if not, then go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back shortly.